Hey, Amy,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amy Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? She is Amy Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you are listening on the audio portion of the podcast, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up, leave us comments. We'd love engaging with you guys. And most importantly, please make sure you follow us on social media at X at Baseball Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. Amy, ¿cómo estás? How was your weekend?
Oh my gosh. We got so much baseball. It was amazing. Are you smiling as big as I'm smiling today?
You know what? And I want to get into this, but I do want to start off with the Pirates series. But I do feel like that series, and I know everybody's on a high because of the Yankees series. And I was the one, all right, I'm taking the L. I'm the one that told everybody the Dodgers were going to get steamrolled by the Yankees, that the Dodgers were going to get destroyed. And look, they won the series. It
Come
surprised
on
me.
over to my side. It's enjoyable watching baseball over here.
But I do look at that series as a mixed bag, and I want to get into it with you. But I want to start off with the Piratas of Pittsburgh. So before we start talking about baseball, is there anything like, I know you always want to be positive. Are there any, things from this weekend or any stories that you saw that you want to, share with the audience before we actually start talking about baseball?
I feel like there is, but I feel like I did not jot it down well. But I do have my Squints shirt on from the Sandlot, my L7 Queenie.
There you go.
So there's that.
For those of you listening on the audio portion of the podcast, this is again another reminder why you should watch us on YouTube, because then you can see Amy's fashion show. Amy has trotted out Wendy Peppercorn before. She had a shirt that like blended into the background at one point. So she is wearing the Squints L7 weenie shirt. There you go.
He even has the little glasses. Yep.
And rubbing and and all that.
Lotioning. My whole adult life.
Can't take it anymore. Okay, so let's start off with the Pirata series in Pittsburgh, because at the beginning of the week, everybody was losing their mind because the Dodgers had lost the first two games in that series. And even of all people, I don't know if you saw this, Amy, but Alana Rizzo, she co-hosts a show, Dodgers Territory. Did you see, she was coming out, and I always feel like she's kind of even keel and always has a reason for why things, but she was coming at the Dodgers hard for losing those first two games in Pittsburgh, like saying, these are the Pirates they're not going to the playoffs. How can you be losing? So I feel like there was a lot of that happening in the beginning of the week. What did you see in that Pirata series? And I have a guess. I already know what your answer is going to be.
I saw baseball. No, I mean, yeah, I saw a lot of vitriol on there. I think I'm just super zenned out because I've been reading my Vin Scully book. If you're part of the impromptu book club, I guess I just want to celebrate these guys. Like, yeah, we need to analyze some of this stuff. There's not going to always be great news, but at the same time, like, it is baseball. I mean, you can get upset about it if you want, but it doesn't serve me watching it. There was a lot going on. The offense was quiet those first two games, or at least the first game. They kind of came back in that 6-10 loss, but at least we got some runs in. There was a happy moment, but it was on the other side. Andrew McCutchen hit his 900th, or brought in his 900th run as a Pirate, and he's been with that team for 11 years. So that was kind of cool, like a cool little baseball moment.
So 900 RBIs?
900 runs.
Oh, so he's scored 900 runs in his career.
Yes, as a Pirate. So he's scored more runs than that, but in his 11 years with Pittsburgh, he hit his 900th, which was kind of cool.
I'm curious if the Pirates are going to retire his number. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at his numbers off the top of my head, but I think that is a player who is very closely associated with the Piratas. But
Mhm.
I don't know if his career as a Pirata, because I know it was announced just recently that the Piratas are putting Barry Bonds in their Hall of Fame.
Hmm,
So
okay.
I am curious if McCutcheon is a guy who eventually will go into this Piratas
I
Hall of
don't see why he wouldn't. Like, he's such a like, he's kinda synonymous with the team, so it feels like he would, especially with his tenure with them. I mean, 11 years is a long time. Whether it's, kinda left, come back, whatever, it's still 11 years.
I want to also give you credit, Amy, because one of our listeners actually reached out to me because of how popular your book club is becoming. And they said, I need a book to read. What was the name of that book again that Amy was reading about Vin Scully? So the people are paying attention to your recommendations here in the book club, Amy. So don't poo-poo your significance here with the book club.
All right, well, I'll have to make sure I pick up another one. I'm still in the middle of the Vin Scully one. I was reading that at the beach this weekend, and there were a couple moments I teared up, especially when I got to the Joe Davis essay in there, and it was just all the stuff that we remember and him having to break the news of Vin passing away while he was like mid game. Just it kind of picked some scabs.
Yeah, so always feel comfortable to share with us what you're reading because I know the people are interested in that book list. I
Well,
want
we're gonna get into some of the stuff I think in the next episode because I just participated in the Saber Negro Leagues conference, and I think I just ordered like 7 or 8 new books. So be prepared, people.
to be prepared.
But back to your original question. Offense was really quiet. I know Glasnow had said when he was interviewed post game, especially after that first game, he did go 6 innings. 9 strikeouts, but he said baseball's hard because a lot of people, people are looking for quotes, and it's just like, well, you didn't get any run support, or what are you thinking about opposing pitchers? And his comments were like, I go into my own world. I just focus on what I'm doing. And I really appreciated that because I feel like that's what our team does. Like they're focused on themselves. They're focused on one game at a time. Does it feel great to lose? No. But they're gonna go out and they're gonna try hard the next day. Now, Paxton ended up only going 1 2/3 innings, which I think hurt our bullpen a little bit on Wednesday because they had to pick up the team, and then Bueller went 3 innings on Thursday. So right on the heels of going to New York, we have our bullpen coming in and kind of picking everybody up, and not ideal, but we at least won that last game.
Well, I want to pick up on the James Paxton comment that you brought up because I do think it's obvious that again the Dodgers offensively were struggling. I mean, I'm going to save the Tyler Glasnow lack of run support for what he did in the Yankees series because that is something that I think. While it's not concerning, it is something that I think maybe just might be unexplainable. And it's just like, why can't this guy get run support?
Well, he hasn't had any since the beginning of May.
Yeah, and it's like every time you bring it up, everybody's like, "Well, that's what they used to do to Kershaw his whole career as a Dodger. They would never give him run support." But the James Paxton thing, look, I will say this: the first game, obviously, offense was the issue. They bounced back in that second game against Skeens, who I was not expecting. I thought they were going to get mowed down both by Jones and Skeens, and I think Jones.
To be fair, there was only 1 run in that first game. Like neither team was hitting.
Yeah,
So the fact that the Pirates won literally by 1 run is, and not like 1 run more than the Dodgers. Like yes, that is the case, but it was 0-1. Like there
well,
was only 1 run in that whole game.
you got to tip your hat to Jones there of the Piratas. I think he pitched a hell of a game. I know everybody was impressed by his velocity there, and maybe there was some adrenaline. We saw it in the Yankee series from some Dodger pitchers. There was some adrenaline there for Jones facing his childhood team, as he's from California. But the James Paxton thing is this: if you look at his last 3 starts, going back to that start in the red against the Rojos, and we've talked about this before. I was just like, they pulled him with 2 outs in the 5th inning. Would have liked to have seen to see if he could get out of that, but he went 4 2/3 against the Rojos. His next start against the Metropolitans, he only went 3 innings. And again, that's because he went on short rest. The Dodgers are very adamant about making sure they're giving James Paxton extra rest. So because he wasn't going on that extra rest, they decided to limit his pitches, and he only ended up pitching 3 innings. And then against the Piratas, he goes an inning and 2/3. So the last 3 starts, you're getting less and less innings from him. And what's really concerning to me, and this might be just one of those things because he's been pulling a Houdini act the whole season with his walks and his control issues. But in these last 3 starts, Amy, his ERA has gone from 2.84 to 4.19.
Mhm.
And Bobby Miller is rehabbing right now. We've been talking about, will the Dodgers go to a 6-man rotation? I think we're starting to see a prime candidate for someone having a phantom IL, and I think it might be James Paxton.
Well, and you mentioned that he only went an inning and 2/3, but they batted around in that second inning. Like that inning was almost like 3 innings in and of itself. So, and it was, I mean, nobody ever wants to see that happen. It was a walk, a single, a double, a single, then a sac bunt to obviously bring some more runs in, and then another walk, and then a single. And then we end up going through the other side of the roster, and then it's another single before he gets pulled. So it was a lot for him to take at that point. So, I mean, he had a rough inning. And yeah, I mean, he only threw what, 45 pitches?
Yeah, and so I think that is someone as Dodger fans, will probably need to keep an eye on. He'll be starting, I believe, tomorrow against the Rangers of Texas, and I'm curious to see how deep he can go into that game. How does he look in that game? Because I don't know how many more rehab starts Bobby Miller's going to get. I think
they said that he might have been ready. We might see him this homestand.
Right. So if they are not going to do the 6-man rotation because they don't want to lose a bullpen arm, then someone is going to have to go on the IL, or someone's going to need to be sent down. So I'm curious if we see tomorrow Paxton get roughed up by the Rangers, or he ends up going short again, if the Dodgers might not be like, hey man, let's
you need
I
some
think your
rest.
elbow's hurting, right? Like, you
Spa
might have
day. He needs a spa day.
Yeah, you might have pulled your ass or something sitting or something like that. And maybe James Paxton doesn't know it yet.
Well, I mean, we'll see how it shakes out tomorrow. I'll be at that game. But also kudos, somebody who's kind of turned it around, especially, I know we'll talk about it more in the Yankee series, but Johan Ramirez, he came in, at least I'm looking at my scorecards, at least twice, and did a great job. He's ever since, I think Doc said he just needed somebody to love on him a little,
somebody to give him a hug. He just needed a hug.
Yes, that once that happened, he got this burst of confidence, and I mean, it carried over into New York, because I'm not gonna lie, when he came out in New York, I was like, oh, is this what we're doing really right now? And then it was
Aaron Judge hit one to Pluto.
Well, I mean, but he was, I think he featured in a couple of games while we were there, and I mean, did a pretty good job considering what he came from, and we were a little concerned. A little concernicus there about him. So
between the hug and Aaron Judge exploding a ball off the pad, he was actually pitching really well.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be fair, he got brought back out in that 8th inning, where it was a little bit more of do we bring him back out in the 8th? Is he ready for an up down at this point? And I think I had messaged that to my best friend, was like, ooh, do we want an up down, or do we want another arm? But at this point, on Sunday, who do we have left? Because we burned a lot of people in the Pirates series. And then, I know we're jumping ahead to the Yankees, but at that point for Johan, who did we have left to go back to?
Look, I don't think Johan should be ashamed, or he should have to defend giving up a titanic home run to Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is on a ridiculous tear. I mean, if you look at his numbers in April, Aaron Judge was almost Chris Taylor level. you know, I okay, I
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I went too far there. I caught myself. I went too far. But he was not doing well. But all of a sudden, in the month of May, Aaron Judge has gone nuts.
That's baseball. Oh.
He has absolutely got nuts. So to just keep it inside the park, I think is an accomplishment to anyone who can right now facing Aaron Judge, because Aaron Judge is just on a ridiculous tear. So yeah, Ramirez, I think deserves his flowers. I am curious as some of these bullpen arms are starting to get healthy and maybe coming back. What are the Dodgers going to do with him? I don't know what his situation is with options. I don't know if they can send him down, hide him somewhere until they need to use him again.
Well, but we've got to be careful with that, because I think it was it? Oh God, I'm gonna.
The Nelson Lamet,
Yeah,
chose free agency.
Yep, and he just got signed elsewhere, and so we've seen that happen with quite a few of our pitchers that we've sent down, and they don't want to sit down and wait. They want to go out and test, who might want them. So we've lost a couple of good ones that way.
Yeah. So look, the offense struggled in the first game. They showed signs of life in that second game, but unfortunately, James Paxton just did not have it in that game, and they were out of that game pretty early. The offense showed up in that last game of the series against the Piratas, but Walker Buehler had a rough outing. And I will say this about Walker Buehler before we go into his outing there. The defense, again, did not help him. And look, I keep harping up the defense. And look, the Dodgers defense, I think if you look at the statistics, they're at the top. So I know that they're not a horrible. If anybody tells you the Dodgers are awful, defensively, the numbers just don't support that argument.
I think it's funny because people are so stuck on when the Dodgers make an error, and it's like, oh my God, Mookie did this again, or Kike did this, or Paez did that. But like, if you're paying attention to the other team, they're doing it too. But that, like, I hate to. F it, I'm just gonna say, like, that literally is baseball. That's why we have a stat for errors. Like it's gonna happen. No, nobody's gonna make a perfect play every time. Like, the fact that I don't know where we've come in baseball where that's the expectation, where it's like that happens. That's how you score. Somebody makes a mistake and you capitalize on it. That literally is part of the game. So does it suck when it's your team doing it? Yeah, but we did this a couple years ago too. Before the World Series, in the World Series, like I could name a couple plays that we had that were like not stellar, but that's part of the game. Like, it's gonna happen.
It totally is part of the game. And as I said, if you look at the numbers just don't support the argument that the Dodgers are bad defensively. The issue at hand, I think what happens is when you watch these games, when they do make errors, is you then have Walker Buehler having to make more pitches.
Same thing with Glasnow this weekend. It's you're giving the team extra outs, or like it just.
Especially, I mean, Glasnow was great, and as I said, we're going to get to his start against the Yankees, but a guy like Walker Buehler, who is not pitching at the same level as Tyler Glasnow, you can't have Walker Buehler having to give out extra outs. Like right now, Walker Buehler needs as many outs as he can get. So when you have a defense that is not helping him, he only went 3 innings in that game against the Piratas. They were very quick because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you have the scorecards, Amy, but I believe he was only at like 75, maybe 80 pitches when they pulled him in that Piratas game.
Yeah, he was at 78. He threw 47 for strikes.
And I know that he's still coming back. I mean, but that was his 6th start. And there were some starts prior to that where he did hit the 100 pitch mark. So this ability to stretch him out, the Dodgers had been working on it. So when you talked about how the bullpen was already burnt out, it was overused in that series. These are the kind of arguments where I sit there and I go, okay, he's at 75 pitches. The game is tied at that point. Maybe try to get another inning out of him. He's only at 75. Hope that, he doesn't have a disastrous inning. maybe you could, if he has a quick inning, maybe you can squeeze 2 more innings so you could get less innings out of your relievers in that game.
I think because they batted around though in that third inning, like he was probably like he was tired. Like at that point, especially because of just how that inning went down. And that one didn't even have any errors in it. The errors were in the preceding inning, in the second inning. One of them did come around to score, so that was unfortunate, but he did get out of the second inning. Granted, to your point, if we had gotten that out, he would have faced 2 less batters. Does that make the difference in the game? But sure, we could argue that, but if we're playing the what if game, we can't go back in time. So
But I think you hit it right there on the head. The reason I think they didn't allow him to come out there was because I don't think they trusted him to go out there for one more inning. I think they thought he's going to get rocked again. And I also think they factored that they had lost the first 2 games of that series. They wanted to win that game. They did not want to get swept by the Piratas going into New York. So
that's a battle right there, right? Do you send him
yeah.
out one more inning, or do you do what you hate? And now we're playing. We had 1, 2, 3, 5 more pitchers that came in that game, which is what you absolutely abhor, absolutely. And so it's like I think the fact that 3-run, or no, it was just a 1-run home run, so two runs. He got an RBI on that. Sorry, trying to read my card back. Somebody came around to score, and then you've got that 2-run home run. After that, he doubled, walked, singled before he got that out. Like it was a lot, one after another. I mean, third inning and he's already at 78 pitches, not stellar. Like not for him, that's not a knock at him. It's just that's a lot for somebody.
No, absolutely. And before we go to the Yankee series, we had touched very briefly in terms of the offense and how it struggled in that first game. I know I'm doing this to myself, and I know the showbiz are going to come after me, but one of the guys that seems to be really feeling it right now in terms of the struggles is Shohei Ohtani. And I know that we've talked about, I mean, in this stretch, he went from hitting 321, he's now down to 310, and he just I go back to that hamstring injury that he is nursing. Is he fully recovered from it? His mechanics were completely out of whack.
Do you want him out completely, or do you want him in at least attempting to help the team?
You know what? And I think that's the question that the Dodgers are asking themselves, because the way this lineup is and the inconsistencies that now are happening through this lineup, where Mookie goes through stretches where he's cold. Will Smith goes through stretches where he's hot and cold. Federico's doing the same thing. Go ahead, say it. Go ahead. Well, I set you up for it.
I won't. But like nobody's going to be firing on all cylinders at the same time. Like it's not realistic.
It's true.
Yeah, and if you like, I've been looking at my cards all weekend because that's what I do. But it just like even seeing it, there's like clusters, like, this part of the lineup, or it's spotty, like this part of the lineup's hitting, this part isn't. Like that's going to happen. Baseball, like Tyler Glasnow said, baseball's hard. It's not easy. I don't know if you were watching some of the Yankees series, but they have that umpire cam, and they were even like, I'm sure we'll get to the mic'd up players a little bit later, but they're even showing that angle with the ball coming at them and then talking to players later. And it's like, yeah, it's almost impossible not only to see what's coming, but to hit. And these are professionals that are trained to recognize pitches, recognize what's coming at them in a split second, like tenths, hundredths, thousandths of a second. And it's hard. It's not easy.
No, I totally agree with you in that statement. But to go back to, I don't think with Muncy out of the lineup, I think you are feeling, missing his production is being felt in this Dodgers lineup. If you pull Ohtani to give him the opportunity to fully heal, I think that impacts the lineup just as well, because even though he may not be hitting at the clip that he was hitting before, he's still a threat just being in that lineup.
We saw it hitting better than some of our other hitters.
Exactly. You saw what he did in that Yankees series. Yeah, maybe he did not hit the Titanic home runs like Aaron Judge did.
He still got a home run on Wednesday's game against the Pirates. Like he hit his 15th. Like he's still hitting. It's just not as consistently as before. I guess I I had a point in here. Oh yes, the Saturday and Sunday that I think we were going to cover the game. I don't know if you were there that weekend, but that's when Dave Roberts was asked about, hey, are you thinking about shaking up the lineup? And he's thinking of like Shohei and Freddie potentially shaking that up. David Vassay was making a case over like last week of maybe moving Freddie to the number 2 spot because he's actually producing. So if you can get Mookie on base, walk, single, whatever, at least Freddie can hit him in because right now Shohei's hitting into double plays a lot, or he's getting that out, and so it's not being productive for the lineup itself. Is that something that we see? Do you want to see while he's recovering him maybe a little farther down in the lineup? Is that something he'd be willing to do? Move from the 2 spot, maybe bolster maybe the back end of the lineup. I don't know.
And look, in everything that you just described right now was the reason why I thought they were going to get steamrolled by the Yankees this weekend, because
have a little faith.
The Yankees had an 8-game winning streak going into that series against the Dodgers in Nueva York. They had come off of a 7-2 West Coast road trip. I just felt like, we're getting the Yankees at the wrong time. And the way the Dodgers looked in Pittsburgh, it just did not give me any confidence that this was going to be a competitive series. Now, the Dodgers go in there, they win 2 out of 3. They had an opportunity to sweep that series. That game on Sunday was close. There are a lot of things that I want to talk about in that series, but there are 2 things that I want to start with, and that is this. I think the glaring thing we have to acknowledge first is the fact that Juan Soto got hurt in that Thursday game before the series. While I think what the Dodgers did is great, and they deserve the credit for going out there and beating a first-place team, a team that at that time that the Dodgers started that series had the best record in all of Major League Baseball, they deserve credit for going in there and winning that series. That being said,
I'm sensing a but.
Yeah, that being said, I think, look, first of all, this series means nothing. The fact that the Dodgers won, it means nothing because it's June, okay? If these teams do meet again, it'll be in the World Series. That what they did happen in June is going to mean nothing when they meet again in October. But I will say this. I think we have to be honest with ourselves and acknowledge the fact that not having Juan Soto in that lineup impacted that Yankees lineup. As my compadre said to me, Scott Boras must be loving this, the fact that the Yankees lost the first 2 games, because it shows how important Juan Soto is to that Yankees team. Because I will say this, Amy, Juan Soto's in that game. He's going to make those Dodgers starting pitchers throw at least more pitches, even if he doesn't get hits. He's going to make them throw pitches, which means Yamamoto, instead of going 7 innings, maybe Yamamoto only goes 6. We don't know. And then what if Soto gets on base before, and then you have Aaron Judge hitting with her? And I get it. These are what if scenarios, but you have to acknowledge the fact that it'd be the same thing as if the Dodgers played the Yankees this weekend and they didn't have Ohtani in the lineup. You don't think Dodger fan would be sitting there using this as an excuse? Well, we didn't have Ohtani.
I don't think it's an excuse though, because to me, it's like, okay, we don't have Ohtani healthy. So what? Now we're going to use that. Like we could have totally, that's where like the what if game kind of gets me. Cause I'm like, okay, so what? But if Ohtani was healthy, if Freddie was hitting at the clip that he would like, if Mookie was firing the way he wants to, the way he feels like he could be, which I think, to be fair, he's still doing great. Like, yeah, we could what if all day. Like, we have a great roster. They're not all hitting to the way that they would like to right now. If they we're on par with the Yankees too. So yeah, they didn't have Soto. Yeah, we don't have our guys hitting the way that we want to. But that is like the timing of baseball. That's how it all shakes out. And that's where injuries come into play. That literally is like the game itself, where I guess I don't understand going back and forth on some of that stuff, because we got the game we got.
No, and that's true. You can only play, the opponent that's in front of you, and no matter what condition they're in, when you get them, that's what you got to do.
And it's not to take away from Soto. I think he's great. I think the strategy would have changed in some of those games, but who knows? Maybe that takes the competition up a notch too. That lights a fire under our guys a little bit. There's so many variables. Like you don't know. I think they played the game that they had in front of them. I think everybody brought their A game to the best of their ability. And, like even that first game, nobody even scored till the 11th inning. Like what? This was the baseball everybody wants to see. Everybody's like, oh, baseball's so boring. It moves at such a slow clip. The pitch clock made it a little better. Okay, well, this is baseball. Instead of potentially tearing it down, maybe just enjoy the moment that we're in watching these two amazing teams. That's kind of how me and my friend group approach it. And we were I watched with my best friend on FaceTime. We had the game going on Friday, and it was just like, whoa, like that's a great look at that. Look at it was enjoyable. It was good baseball.
That game on Friday to me lived up to all the hype. I thought that was the best game of the series. And then Saturday and Sunday, I think it was a win-win for Major League Baseball. I think they got what they wanted. I think it would.
I had to burn an extra card just for the extra innings.
So the other thing I wanted to discuss with you, and that was something that John Smoltz brought up. And look, I do not normally agree with what John Smoltz says as a color analyst. He's not a favorite of mine. But what he said in this series to me really got my attention. And that was that he said that the Dodgers needed this series, not necessarily to win this series, but the Dodgers needed this series more than the Yankees, because what you saw was that the Dodgers were hyped. They were focused. They were into that series. And the reason why is they were at Yankee Stadium. It was the Yankees. They had the best record in all of Major League Baseball. And with Smoltz, when he brought that up, I thought to myself, I don't think there was a series like this last year for the Dodgers, a series where it was this intense, where you saw the Dodgers you know what it felt like to me? This series where the Dodgers against the Yankees, this is how the show pods played the Dodgers, I feel. The show pods are super intense. They're into it. They're doing everything. And I saw that with the Dodgers in this series. So for me, I got to ask you, if that's true, what Smoltz is saying, that the Dodgers needed this and the Dodgers reacted differently to the Yankees, what does that say about the Dodgers? Why can't they do that? You just lost 2 out of 3 to a Pittsburgh Pirates team that is not going to the playoffs, and you can't get up for them, but you can get up for the Yankees. So there's a good and a bad to it. One is, why can't you get up to other teams? But since this felt like a playoff series, does this mean this is a good sign for the Dodgers when they get to the playoffs this year? Because when the playoffs start, they can always say, remember the Yankee series. We got to play the way we played in the. Why are you laughing at me?
Because I think that's all conjecture. I'm not saying that Smoltz was incorrect. That's his opinion. If that aligns with what some people agree with, then great. But I think based on our team and what they've said in the past and how they back it up, this is just another series where they hyped. Yes, it's a historical rivalry. But beyond that, I don't think they approached it any different than they did the Pirates. There's not going to be any less intensity. I think if anything, it's the whole picture. Them playing against the Pirates, I think they played well, but nobody has to admit. I was just going to say you have to admit, but there was an intensity in the stadium, the fan base, you could feel just everything around it. That was not present in the Pirates series. But I don't think, in my opinion, that has anything to do with how the Dodgers approached playing either of those games. I think they showed up and they played as best as they could in each situation. I think you just had a heightened environment around it that also made it feel pumped up. But
Well, I mean, there are a lot of positives for the Dodgers in this series, and that is, I mean, first, I think the Oscar Hernandez, who I think at the time of us recording this was named the National League Player of the Week. Do you have? I think you have more information on that, right, Amy?
He's actually not only leading the team, but so he has 16 home runs and 48 RBIs. So he's leading the Dodgers, but I think part of those stats where he is the NL leader in that respect as well.
In RBIs? Because I don't believe it's in home runs.
I thought I saw a stat today. Maybe not in home runs, but it was something, and probably watch. I didn't even save the tweet.
I'll let you check that so we can avoid a base running error. And while you're doing
I'll rescind it. But for the Dodgers, he is, because I don't want to misquote either, but he is leading the Dodgers now. So he is one home run above Shohei at this point. So he's got 16. Shohei has 15.
Yeah, so I saw a lot of comments about the Dodgers have never had a player like that in the playoffs, and immediately it goes to the playoffs. It goes to the playoffs, right? Everybody's just like, we're going to have the Oscar in the playoffs. This is going to make a difference. So he had a great series against the Yankees. Look, what Yamamoto did on Friday, I did not have on my Loteria card. I thought for sure that Yamamoto was going to get rocked by the Yankees.
And this is why you should just go into games with no expectations.
Yeah, I need to learn from you. I need to learn from you
because then you're just pleasantly surprised because that guy threw 106 pitches in 7 innings. Like, way to go.
7 shutout innings. And so I did not see that coming. So I thought Yamamoto was great. I thought Gavin Stone showed a lot. And again, with Bobby Miller, about to come up, I really hope that Gavin Stone is not the guy that gets sent down because he has options when he's pitched really, really well. And I feel like he deserves to be up here. But again, I get it. This is an organization that's probably going to try to limit the number of innings that he's pitched this year. So
are we thinking he'll get sent down because we can't carry that many people on the roster, or that they don't want to go to a 6-man rotation? Because at this point, if you can have 6 healthy starting pitchers and you kick down one of your bullpen guys, but you can have people go later in games, is the potential there to actually have 6 starting pitchers and you just have a little bit less than one less in the bullpen?
The issue is the philosophy of the organization. Dave Roberts addressed this a few weeks ago when he said the reason why they would not commit to a 6-man rotation is they don't want to lose that arm in the bullpen. Because if they go to 6 starters, then somebody in the bullpen has to go down.
I guess it just doesn't make sense to me, because at this point, then you're still throwing a bullpen day and you're kind of tiring these guys out. Where like, okay, yeah, we sacrifice an arm, but how many innings are we saving these guys on the back end? But I'm not in the front office, so.
But that's the conundrum that the Dodgers will have. And again, it's a non-issue if you can get length out of your starters. If you get your starters giving you 6 innings every game, it's not going to be an issue. But if you have something like James Paxton, where he gives you an inning and 2/3, or Walker Buehler only pitches 3 innings, that's where you go to a 6-man rotation. That's where you're going to feel it, because then you're going to need, and that's the reason why, I don't know if you saw this, Dave Roberts looked pissed in the Pittsburgh series, especially
when Evan Phillips pitched 30. Yep. Oh, he did not look happy.
And Dave Roberts is a guy who is usually very even keeled. He's I think he's very pleasurable. He never comes off as someone who's disagreeable or anything like that. But you could tell he was visually annoyed at the fact that Evan Phillips had to make that many pitches, that they had to use so many relievers in that game. And and that's what happens if they commit to the 6-man rotation. If you have one of those starters that doesn't give you length, that's where it becomes an issue. But if your starters, all 6 of your starters, are giving you 6 innings every game, then I don't think the bullpen would be overworked. So I mean, it's something it's interesting. There's a couple other tidbits that I want to throw out about that Yankees series. So we talked about Tyler Glasnow made 2 starts this week.
Okay.
And he pitched really well against the Piratas, right? And this was the team that he started his career with, was the Piratas. He got no run support. And I know you had the numbers there, Amy. Up until the Yankee game, I believe the Dodgers had not scored a run for Tyler Glasnow while he's actually pitching for like 5 starts in a row.
I think it was like May 4th or something like that. Don't quote me on the exact day, but it was like the first week in May. He's gotten no run support. So
he lost that game 1-0, right? So then on Sunday, he was pitching really well. Here's a couple of things. The thing that concerns me about Glasnow, and another thing why I felt this series against the Yankees was a mixed bag, and that was the Dodgers threw out their best pitchers at the Yankees. The Dodgers threw their top 3 starters, and for the Yankees, we saw their number 1 on Sunday, and that's the Dodgers loss. But we didn't see Carlos Rodon, who is having a very good season for the Yankees this year. It's a bounce back season. Another guy who's having a great season for the Yankees is Marcus Stroman, and the Dodgers did not see him either. So the fact that the Dodgers threw their best pitchers and we didn't necessarily see the Yankees' best pitchers, again, I want to give the Dodgers credit because they went out there and they won the series. But Tyler Glasnow, who is your best pitcher, and he's going out there on Sunday, you've got to feel really good about your chances that the Dodgers are going to sweep. Amy, the home run ball with Tyler Glasnow, is that a concern to you? He lost that game against the Piratas because he gave up a home run. He gave up 2 home runs in that game on Sunday, and in one big home run to Trent Grisham, who is a former show pod who has been struggling with the Yankees, so much so that the fans were cheering for Soto at that time when Trent Grisham hit a home run. That was the difference maker in that game. So Tyler Glasnow, I think, has been victim to the home run ball this year. Any concerns, or like you like to say, it's just baseball?
Like, I guess, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, we did the same thing to them the night before, where Theo hits a grand slam. So, like, I think it's luck of the draw. Do you want them to give up home runs? No. But is he giving them up at a clip like Lance Lynn? No. It just, like, we're playing a good team. The odds that they're going to hit home runs, it's going to happen. And I mean, there's a reason people say, like, so-and-so is due. At this point, Grissom was due, and he came up, and who knows, maybe the chanting, like, pushed him on, like, oh, you want Soto? Like, all right, well, here, I'm going to give you something. And, I just, honestly, I think this is why it makes games interesting. I don't want to lose. I, like, it groaned when they hit that home run, but it was like, but this is what makes good baseball. That's why it's not over till the last out, because anything like this could happen. You have the guy who's hitting around, I think he's hitting around, like, what, 100? I think he's kind of Chris Taylor status, but even, Chris Taylor comes up clutch every once in a blue moon. And so, like, it happened, and it happened in the worst spot possible. But, at the same time, the game was kind of winnable at that point, but we're still trying to find ourselves, and we couldn't pull it out.
It is just an unfortunate outing for Glasnow because he struck out 12. I mean, he doesn't give out. If he finds a way to get out of that inning, we're talking about how great, Tyler Glasnow is pitching. Now he ends up losing again, and now he went from having a record of 6-2 to now he's 6-5. Mm-hmm. And it's another reason why maybe the stat of the win, the pitcher's win, no longer means as much as it used to. Because
there's so many factors that go into that. Like, I think at some point we'll probably recalibrate some of those, but it's not like some of those other losses where the team didn't show up. Like, it was a 4-6 game. Like, it was a close game. Anybody could have won or lost that game at any point. Like, we had opportunities. They capitalized on theirs a little bit more. Maybe they were hungrier because they didn't want to get swept. Maybe it was the one Dodger fan everybody's pointing to on social media that potentially jinxed it. Like, you could
that ball was gone anyways. I think that ball was gone.
But that's the ridiculosity of it all, right? Like, it was this person on social media, or it was this, or it just, that's what happened in this game. Like, I think, honestly, this is just what makes good baseball. There were some challenges in the games. Some of them went, our team's way, their team's way. There were some unbelievable calls, stuff that got overturned that was like, oh, that's so close. I don't know if we're going to get it. And then we got it. And it's just like, wow, like, what a great series, aside from the players being mic'd up, because I hate that. But
all right, so let's make a call right now. I know we didn't get into the in-game interviews, and I know you want to talk about that. Do you want to save it for the next episode?
We kind of have a full plate next time. Yeah, we could do that. We could open with it. Yeah,
we're kind of
a little teaser, guys.
All right, so we're going to talk about that, and then there are a couple other things that we didn't get in that I wanted to get to real quick. So that's going to do it for this episode. Make sure you guys we're ending this episode with a cliffhanger. So make sure you guys check out our next episode.
Dun.
Clearly, we have more things to talk about. We're just going to save it for the next episode. So, for those of you listening on the audio portion of this podcast, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. We love engaging with you guys. What did you guys think about what we're talking about? And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amy Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amy, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.